The year is 1869, and you're with Jesse James and the Younger Gang, ready to rob a promising bank in Gallatin, Missouri. The stakes are high, the plan is set, and the adrenaline is pumping. Today we're taking you inside the minds of the James Younger Gang as they prepare for and execute one of the most daring bank robberies of the 19th century. You'll witness the meticulous planning, the tense moments inside the bank, and the dramatic escape that left the town in chaos. And here's a little spoiler, they stole almost $60,000, a very large fortune in those times. So settle up and get ready for this thrilling ride through history as we ride into the heart-pounding world of Jesse James and his gang. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and with that said, let's get started. Howdy folks, today we're diving into one of the most infamous heists in American history, the Gallatin Heist, masterminded by none other than Jesse James and his notorious gang. The late 1860s in America was a time of great change and upheaval. The Civil War had ended just a few years earlier, leaving the country deeply scared and divided. The South was in ruins, and many former Confederate soldiers found themselves lost, hopeless, and without purpose. This period of Reconstruction was marked by economic hardship and social turmoil, creating the perfect breeding ground for outlaws who felt marginalized and rebellious. Jesse Woodson James was one such individual. Born in 1847 in Clay County, Missouri, Jesse was raised in a fiercely pro-Confederate household. His father, a Baptist minister, died when Jesse was young, leaving the family struggling. The Civil War had a profound impact on Jesse, who, along with his older brother Frank, joined Confederate guerrilla groups. These groups, known as bushwhackers, conducted brutal raids and skirmishes against Union forces and sympathizers, shaping Jesse into a hardened and ruthless fighter. After the war, Jesse and Frank found it difficult to reintegrate into society. The harsh conditions and lingering animosities of Reconstruction meant there were few opportunities for former Confederate soldiers. It was during this time that the James brothers, along with other former guerrilla fighters, formed the Younger Gang, a dangerous group that would go on to become one of the most feared and notorious gangs in American history. The James Younger Gang was composed of seasoned fighters, including the Younger brothers, Cole, Jim, John, and Bob. These men were experienced in guerrilla warfare, making them highly effective in their criminal exploits. They initially focused on robbing banks, trains, and stagecoaches, targeting institutions they perceived as symbols of northern oppression and wealth. By the time of the Gallatin Heist in 1869, Jesse James had already begun to make a name for himself as a daring and charismatic leader. He was known for his audacity and meticulous planning, which often allowed him and his gang to outsmart law enforcement. The gang's exploits were often romanticized by the press, and Jesse quickly became a folk hero to some, seen as a Robin Hood-like figure fighting against the injustices of Reconstruction. Now that we have a sense of the historical context and the rise of Jesse James, let's shift our focus to the town of Gallatin, Missouri, and the meticulous planning that went into the infamous heist. Imagine a small, quiet town on a cold December day, blissfully unaware of the storm about to hit it. This was the perfect setting for the audacious crime that would leave an indelible mark in American history. The Younger Gang was no stranger to high-stake robberies, but this particular job required a level of cunning and preparation that would put their reputations to the test. In the months leading up to the heist, the gang had been active across Missouri, targeting banks and stagecoaches to fund their operations and build their authority. The spoils of these raids provided them with the resources needed to plan their next big score. Their criminal activities were marked by a blend of boldness and precision, often leaving law enforcement several steps behind. Gallatin, Missouri was a small but bustling town, typical of post-Civil War America. Settled in the northwestern part of the state, Gallatin was a place where everyone knew everyone else, and the local bank was a cornerstone of the community. It was precisely this sense of complexity and routine that made it an attractive target for Jesse James and his gang. The gang had been gathering intelligence on Gallatin for weeks, meticulously planning every detail of the heist. They chose the Daviess County Savings Association, a modest yet prosperous bank, as their target. The gang believed that the bank had a significant amount of cash and valuables, making it a lucrative score that would provide a substantial payday. On the morning of the heist, the gang rode into Gallatin under the guise of ordinary travelers. The air was crisp and cold, with a thin layer of frost covering the ground. The townsfolk went about their daily routines, unaware of the storm brewing just beyond their sight. Jesse James, always the master of deception, led his men with a calm and confident demeanor, ensuring that nothing seemed amiss. As they approached the bank, the gang dismounted and tied their horses nearby, ready for a quick getaway. They had studied the rules meticulously, each member knowing exactly what was expected of him. Jesse and Frank would handle the bank employees and secure the money, while the younger brothers and the rest of the gang would keep watch and deal with any potential interference. The plan was simple but effective. Hit the bank hard and fast, grab the money, and escape before anyone could mount a response. Timing was crucial. The gang knew that a swift and decisive strike would minimize the risk of resistance and increase their chances of a clean getaway. Inside the bank, it was business as usual. The clerks were busy with their morning tasks, counting money and assisting customers. The atmosphere was quiet, almost serene, as the clock ticked closer to the moment of impact. Little did they know they were about to be thrust into the middle of a violent and chaotic robbery. With everything in place, Jesse James gave the signal. The gang sprang into action, moving with the precision and coordination of a well-oiled machine. As the doors to the bank swung open, the peaceful morning was shattered by the sounds of shouts and terror. The heist had begun, and there was no turning back. Jesse, flanked by his brother Frank and several other members of their gang, stormed into the bank with guns drawn. The clerks, startled and terrified, froze in their tracks as the outlaws barked orders.
Hands up! Everyone stay calm and no one gets hurt.
Jesse's voice cut through the air, his presence commanding and unyielding. Frank moved swiftly to the counters, grabbing a clerk by the collar and demanding the combination to the safe. The other gang members fanned out, ensuring no one attempted to escape or sound an alarm. The interior of the bank was a modest affair, with wooden counters, iron-barred teller windows, and a heavy safe at the back. The atmosphere was tense, the air thick with fear and the pungent smell of sweat. Outside, the quiet streets of Gallatin remained undisturbed, the townsfolk oblivious to the drama unfolding within the bank's walls. As Frank wrestled with the clerk, forcing him to open the safe, Jesse kept a close eye on the customers and employees.
Hurry it up!
He barked, aware that time was of the essence. The gang needed to be in and out quickly, leaving no room for resistance or intervention from law enforcement. The clerk, with his hands trembling, finally managed to unlock the safe. Frank threw open the door, revealing stacks of cash, gold coins, and valuable documents. The gang worked swiftly, stuffing their sacks with as much loot as they could carry. The sight of the money only fueled their adrenaline, each second ticking by with increasing urgency. Meanwhile, outside the bank, a few curious onlookers began to gather, drawn by the commotion. One brave soul, realizing what was happening, sprinted to alert the local sheriff. Inside, the gang remained oblivious, focused solely on their task. The tension was palpable, each heartbeat echoing in the ears of those held at gunpoint. Just as the gang finished loading their sacks, a voice called out from the entrance. "Stop right there!" It was the sheriff, revolver in hand, flanked by a hastily assembled posse. The moment hung in the air, a brief but charged pause before all hell broke loose. Jesse, quick on the draw, fired a warning shot into the ceiling.
Stay back, or the next one is in your head.
The sheriff hesitated, calculating the risk. The gang seized the moment, bolting for the exit with their ill-gotten gains. Gunfire erupted as the outlaws made their escape, bullets whistling through the air. The gang mounted their horses in a flurry of movement, the sacks of money clinking with its tread. The streets of Gallatin were alive with chaos, the townsfolk ducking for cover as the gang raced out of town. The sheriff and his posse gave chase, their horses thundering in pursuit. But Jesse and his gang were seasoned veterans of such escapes, their knowledge of the terrain giving them a crucial advantage. Within minutes, the gang disappeared into the rugged landscape surrounding Gallatin, with the sheriff left in the dust. The heist, though fraught with danger, had gone according to plan. The James Younger gang had pulled off yet another audacious robbery, further cementing their infamy. The aftermath of the Gallatin Heist was immediate and chaotic. As Jesse James and his gang disappeared into the surrounding landscape, the town of Gallatin was left reeling from the sudden violence and brazen robbery. The sheriff and his posse pursued the outlaws, but the gang's intimate knowledge of the terrain allowed them to evade capture, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement like shadows in the night. Back in Gallatin, the citizens were in shock. The once peaceful town was now the scene of a crime that would become legendary. The DCS Association had been cleaned out with an estimated $60,000, an immense fortune at the time, taken by the gang. The bank employees and customers who had been held at gunpoint recounted their harrowing experiences, their voices trembling with lingering fear and disbelief. News of the heist spread quickly, fueling the already growing legend of Jesse James and his gang. Newspapers across the country sensationalized the event, painting Jesse as both a ruthless outlaw and a folk hero. To some, he was a symbol of rebellion against the society that had wronged him. To others, he was a dangerous criminal who needed to be stopped at all costs. The law enforcement response was swift and relentless. Rewards were posted for the capture of Jesse James and his gang, dead or alive. Bosses were formed and manhunts were conducted across Missouri and beyond. Yet, despite intense pressure, Jesse and his gang managed to stay one step ahead, using their skills and wits to evade capture time and time again. For the town of Gallatin, the heist left a lasting scar. The robbery had shaken the community to its core, instilling a sense of vulnerability and fear. The bank, a symbol of security and prosperity, had been violated, and the townspeople were left to pick up the pieces and rebuild their sense of safety. The Gallatin Heist further cemented Jesse James' reputation as one of America's most notorious outlaws. It showcased his audacity, his meticulous planning, and his ability to inspire both fear and admiration. As we reflect on this dramatic episode, it's clear that the legend of Jesse James was as much a product of his criminal exploits as it was the turbulent times in which he lived. Thank you for riding along with us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales from the wild, wild west. And always remember, folks, to keep your boots dusty, your spirits high, and I'll see you on the next time.